knows a lot about all kinds of stuff. Professor Dave explains.
Do you like balsamic vinegar? It's great for salads, but also for drizzling over your caprese, or even fruit. If you are a fan, you may have purchased one of those little bottles at your local supermarket for $5, or even 10 if you're feeling fancy. But the truth is that no matter which fancy supermarket you got yours from, what you purchased has very little to do with Aceto Balsamico Tradizionale di Modena, the exquisite and ultra-expensive product of Modena. This product is incredibly delicious, shiny mahogany in color, velvety and viscous, and is also more expensive than you could probably imagine. Aceto balsamico tradizionale di Modena should not be confused with aceto balsamico di Modena, which is normally industrially produced and much more affordable. Even the better versions of this are merely a mixture of concentrate and wine vinegar, and it is certainly completely different from aceto balsamico without any mention of Modena, which tends to be a cheap concoction of vinegar, grape juice, added sweeteners and thickeners, plus many other artificial flavorings. And of course, there are the balsamic glazes, which are simply balsamic-inspired, merely reduced ordinary balsamic vinegar with added sugar and thickeners such as guar gum or xanthan gum. These products are meant to imitate the traditional balsamic vinegar, but at a fraction of the cost. This could actually be made at home without much difficulty by adding sugar or honey to a factory balsamic vinegar and reducing on the stove until the desired thickness. After mentioning these imposters, let's now talk about the real deal, Aceto Balsamico Tradizionale di Modena. Production of this so-called oro nero, or black gold, doesn't happen in large factories, but rather in small family-owned farms called acetaie. There are approximately 50 of them in the Modena-Reggio Emilia area. If you want real aceto balsamico tradizionale di Modena, you must keep your eye out for two key words which must be present. First, the word tradizionale, which is only in the labels of this superior product. And second, the denomination DOP. This stands for Denominazione di Origine Protetta, or Protected Designation of Origin. This means that the product was locally made, inspected for quality, and packaged on location. By law, in Italy, these two very important pieces of information can only appear on the labels of artisanal products that strictly adhere to local traditions. The initial product is made with just one thing, 100% juice of pressed grapes. This is called mosto in Italian and translates in English to the word must. The use of any additives is strictly prohibited. The process has to happen naturally through a process of aging. Before we get into the actual description of production, you may ask, what is Modena? Modena is a town in the region of Emilia-Romagna. So why Modena? What's so special about this place? Can the same balsamic vinegar be produced in other countries? Or at least in other parts of Italy? The short answer is no. You can bet that many other towns in history have tried, only to give up in the end. The truth is that Modena and Modena alone has the perfect environment to produce balsamic. The rooms where the barrels are stored are not climate controlled, but rather nature controlled. Located in the sottotetto, which is an area under the roof of the farm, these rooms get steamy hot in the summer and very cold in the winter. It would seem that Modena is the perfect spot for this. Not even the nearby town Reggio Emilia can compete. So what happens is the heat of the summer will encourage extreme fermentation, while the cold of the winter will mark a period of rest. The windows of the sottotetto will always be open to assure perfect ventilation, which seems to be unique to that area. Modena is very lucky and very proud to boast these privileged conditions. Now let's get into some important details regarding production. Regular vinegar, the one commonly used in salad, is made with a fermenting liquid like wine or apple cider. This liquid will produce the peculiar sour flavor that most people seem to either love or hate. But in Modena, the procedure couldn't be more different. There, they start with grapes. The variety is usually the white grape Trebbiano. Grapes are pressed, skin, stems, leaves, seeds, and all, and cooked for a day in a boiler at high temperatures. The resulting liquid will change color, evaporate slightly, and turn into what is called mosto cotto, or must. The must is then poured into very large barrels. These barrels, previously rinsed carefully, will hold the mosto cotto for about 1 year. When the year has passed, the liquid will be less fluid and will now resemble a more syrupy substance. This is where the procedure becomes unusual. At the end of the year, the mosto cotto needs to be decanted into smaller barrels. These barrels come in sets, which are called batterie. Batterie are made of an uneven number of barrels, never less than 5, but also reaching 7, 9, or sometimes 11. Often, a new batteria is started with the birth of a child, and it will be named after the child. Here you can see the names Lucrezia and Antonietta. The volumes of these barrels will start at around 50 to 60 liters for the largest, then decreasing gradually from there, finally arriving at about 10 liters for the smallest. A batteria can be made all with the same kind of wood or with different kinds. Obviously, since each wood will contribute a specific flavor to the finished product, a batteria made with more woods will yield a more complex and more desirable flavor to the finished product. Typical woods are oak and chestnut, but you may also find cherry or ash, together with the very flavoring juniper and even the mulberry, although this is harder to find. Each barrel must be carefully cleaned through a process called skimming, which entails letting water and salt rest inside the barrel for several days. After that, the barrel must be acetified by letting wine vinegar rest inside for a year. Only after these operations will the barrel be ready for use and will receive the new must. For those who are curious, the total cost of a 5-piece batteria varies, but today it normally ranges from 600 to 1,000 euro, although it could reach much higher prices. Now, these are the rooms where the miracle starts happening. It's here where the mosto cotto begins transforming from a liquid rich in sugar into a more acetic liquid, which will lead to the final product. Here, the natural sugar caramelizing will produce a natural dark color and a palatable flavor. Not many people know that this process will take a very long time, and it will happen naturally thanks to a very slow process of evaporation and concentration. In fact, all the barrels are practically open by means of a square window, only blocked by a bit of gauze in order to avoid the intrusion of insects or other debris. During the course of 1 year, 10% of the liquid evaporates. The vinegar will reduce, and the flavor will enhance. Now, here is the surprising part. Once a year, the evaporated liquid must be replaced. The replacement starts from the barrel before the last. Let's imagine we have 5 barrels, with the largest named number 1 and the smallest named number 5. Some liquid from number 4 will be moved to number 5, and then continuing backward, number 3 will replenish 4, number 2 will replenish 3, number 1 will replenish 2, and finally number 1 will receive some of the new season's mosto cotto. This process will be repeated for at least 12 years. It will take this long in order to be able to sell the first bottle of Aceto Balsamico Tradizionale di Modena, provided that it passes the test of flavor given by the consortium. It is the assaggiatori, or professional tasters, who will give either the okay or the veto. Although 12 years is the minimum aging that is required, the product can be aged much further, like 25 years or 50 years, and be called extra vecchio, meaning extra aged. One may even buy amazing balsamic that is aged for 80 to 100 years. The bottles will have a particular shape, which was designed by Giorgetto Giugiaro, who is, perhaps unexpectedly, a famous Italian automobile designer. This will have a long neck, a globed middle, and a square base. They also have a particular size, which is 100 milliliters, and these bottles cannot be made differently. They will all carry a seal of approval. Now, are you ready to talk about price? If you are looking to get your hands on a bottle of this product, for the 12-year variety, this will be $25, a reasonable expense for any gourmand. And if you are looking for the 100-year variety, this will set you back around $800. But now we can better understand this extreme cost, as it is completely justified by the long and painstaking production process. Let's say you've got your hands on some of this rare nectar. How should you use it? Whatever you do, definitely don't cook with it. Feel free to pour it very sparingly on your salad if you wish, but if you're looking to go the Italian way, Italians use it over Parmigiano Reggiano, or strawberries, or even vanilla ice cream. Delizioso!
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel for more tutorials. Support me on Patreon so I can keep making content. And as always, feel free to email me, ProfessorDaveExplains@gmail.com.